My name is Aaliyah Neely. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. I think there are very specific and very strong stereotypes about black women and black young women, and so I don't want to exist just to be something that defies a stereotype in everybody's mind, but like if who I am is contrary to the negative connotations that people will like assume about me off rip, like why I'm not gonna fight it, I'm not gonna hide it. So
Hi, I'm Rachel Dusanya. I'm a sophomore, and I grew up in Staten Island, New York. My parents came from Nigeria, so I've grown up with like a Nigerian background. For high school, I decided to escape the jurisdiction of a predominantly white society and tried an ethnically diverse high school in Manhattan, New York. I found it difficult to assimilate to the black culture at Hunter. People would categorize me as an Oreo, black on the outside, but white in the middle. And they would claim that I'm a white girl in a black girl's body. This made it difficult for me to find my identity.
My name is Justin Carlisle. I'm from New York City. What I noticed occurring in black communities a lot was that if you were mixed or if you were something that wasn't identifiably black, you were sort of like pushed in this other category of like unknown. And which was, like, as a kid, that was really confusing for me because, you know, my mom, she considered herself black. I grew up in a very predominantly black household with like Afro-Caribbean traditions too. And even sometimes like my own family would sit there and say Oreo, or they'll say that I was like Carlton Banks because he was like sort of racially ambiguous. It's like, all right, so if I'm not black, then what am I?
I'm Tremaine Smith from the Bronx, New York. As I approached the seat she was sitting on and prepared to sit down on this already packed bus, she, without thinking it seemed, clutched her Louis Vuitton purse, got up, and moved to a seat 10 feet in front of me and sat next to a random white woman. I was a 6'4", scrawny, four-eyed, gay black teenager posing no real threat. However, this woman didn't seem to understand that. She was sick in her habit, feeling that by moving, she'd protect herself from my very contagious brown skin. That really made me realize, like, I'm black. And, like, although, like, I noticed it before, it was just like, no. Like, you're black enough to threaten others without even trying.
I am Malika Saramad Imhotep, and I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. So I grew up in an Afrocentric household, which basically means like my parents from very early on were both kind of involved in bringing Afrocentrism and bringing black nationalism and bringing things like Kwanzaa and liberation flags and Liberation Day events and like the whole idea of African unity. They were part of like a group of people who brought that to Atlanta. Like, this American story isn't your only story. Like, you don't begin on a slave field, you don't begin like picking cotton. I definitely was aware of stereotypes and the ways that I matched up to them or didn't, and kind of wanted to match up in certain ways, I think. Like, and that everything I thought was like really, really like black, like wasn't. Like, it was lame, like it was corny to my middle school classmates. They were like, they didn't get it, they didn't value it. And I own it now. Like, it's not something, in middle school there were definitely moments where I would be like proud of it in the classroom but ashamed of it in the cafeteria.
My name is Amaris. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. Identifying as a woman, being black / Latina, and like being gay or queer, and like what kind of effect that's had on me and my interactions and relationships with my family and with my peers. Like, when my mom asks me, like, you know, why would you choose this? You already have enough in your way. Like, why would you choose to be gay, or why would you choose to like women, or like whatever it is? And it's like, you know, like, was that a choice?
My name is Amanda Carolini de Oliveira Pereira, or Amanda, and I'm originally from Brazil, and I've been here since I was 6, so in America I'm from Massachusetts and Rhode Island. My identity changes depending where I am, like whether it's the room that I'm in. If I'm in a room full of white people, then yeah, I'm black. But if I'm in a room full of black people, that's not necessarily the identity that other people perceive me as. If I'm in a space full of Latinos, then that's what the primary identity that's being brought out. But if I'm in a room full of Dominicans, I'm still an outcast because I'm not speaking Spanish and I'm not Dominican. But visually, I'll be blending in. I identify as an Afro-Brazilian. Like, that is my main identity. And what that means to an American, like, and what box you feel like that can put me in is your problem. And like, I can explain that and I can have those conversations, but I don't have to abide by like trying to create my identity around boxes that have been predetermined.
Okay, so my name is Janasia Stevens. Everyone calls me Naya. I mean, I prefer Naya, but Janasia's fine too. I grew up in New York City, specifically in Washington Heights. So that's Dominican Republic, little DR. Being in elementary school and picture day, the person would call these girls like beautiful and like gorgeous and stuff, and it would be like 3 or 4 shots, and he'd say it for every shot. Then when I got up there, it was a very like smile, say cheese, move on kind of thing. But I remember going home telling my mom like I wanted to change my eye color and I wanted to change my skin tone, and I wanted to like change my hair. But I am this person now at 20 who's like very into blackness and everything black, but I am still this person who indulges in wearing weaves and makeup, and like I'm not exactly trying to appeal to a white beauty aesthetic, but I am categorized, and I'm also the oldest of 4 girls. So on top of that, that's another emotional thing, trying to reverse how I feel about beauty and trying to teach them how they are beautiful too.
I am Professor Jasmine Johnson. I grew up in San Francisco, in the Fillmore District, which is a historically black neighborhood in the city. Growing up in that space and then ending up in this very, very white institution in which I was the only black woman for 3 years. At my high school, the ways that my peers engaged my blackness was kind of, had a lot to do with both interest and also fear. People who are those tokens, the most immediate script one has is to actually enact that tokenism, right? So that there's a way that I found myself really leaning into the kinds of ideas of blackness that my peers had around me, or at most being willing to be a kind of cultural translator and embrace a kind of stereotypical blackness, so that really I can ensure the comforts of my peers really at the expense of myself. I found myself using laughter a lot to get around the pain of misinformation about myself, but also at that point kind of without the language to really push back on it in meaningful ways. You have to be a full person, you have to be a whole person, and that's complicated, but it's necessary.